Hello folks, and welcome to the channel, or welcome back. And in this episode we're going to have a look of what has happened so far this year, what we have done and what we're going to do with it in the next couple of weeks. In the beginning of this year I took the RP30 to the racetrack in Spa-Francorchamps, and I really had an issue with this car. I had an issue with shifting, but I also had an issue with the clutch as the car was creeping forward even though the clutch was depressed. So I decided to replace the complete clutch system. That means I had to take the complete car apart. So I was splitting off the rear part of the car, so I had full access to the clutch system. And at the end, I did replace the pressure plate of the clutch. I also replaced the clutch plate, the centering bearing, the throwout bearing, and the only part that I kept was actually the bootleg spacer, which was a special made part. Not that I liked it a lot, but okay, that was my only choice. And then we put everything back together. We double checked the slave cylinder for the clutch, and then I checked the car out to see if it was grabbing at the right time and how much play I have on the clutch pedal. All that was fine. So the truth will be in eating the pudding, I guess. So we're going to take this Royale to the racetrack in France next week, the 21st of July, to the circuit at Chambly. And then there is this Dominator. This is the white car right here in front of me. And we took this car early this year to the same circuit in Mété, where I was with my MGB GT, just to test it all out. Now, before we took it to the track, we had done a full investigation on this car. We basically checked all the parts, all the nuts, all the bolts. What I didn't check was all the chassis welding. So once we were on the track, and we had a bit of an issue. The right rear wheel all in a sudden collapsed, and that was due to a failure on the wishbone. So the lower wishbone got ripped off the chassis basically. Probably metal fatigue, so we had to re-weld a new stud. We had to re-weld some parts on the chassis, but because it was ripped off, it also distorted the upper wishbone. So there was nothing for us to do than creating two new wishbones for that Dominator, and you can't buy those, you really have to build it yourself. And a friend of mine helped me out on that one, Erpo, did it a good job. I didn't have the time to weld it up myself. Normally I would, but I didn't have time for it. So I put it all back together, I realigned the car, and I think the car now should be ready to be taken to a new test on the track on Monday. In case you haven't seen the video on the Dominator before, this is a very lightweight race car. It is fitted with a Suzuki race engine in the back from a motorbike. It's a space frame or a tubular frame, and then a lightweight polyester body on it. The weight is not even 400 kilograms, and it's close to 200 horsepower. So this is really a rocket. And you hear this as soon as I will crank up the engine, so you can actually have a feel on how this sounds and how this must drive. So I'm just going to turn on the contact and we'll start it. It starts off very loud because it's having an automatic AFR in it, so, and the engine is cold, so now it's injecting more fuel. That's why it was going high. But now it's almost running on idle. But this engine is very, very picky. So as soon as you touch just briefly the gas throttle, it really spins up. And I'm not pushing the pedal down very far. So it will be very interesting to see how this car will do on the racetrack next week, Monday, and hopefully everything is going well and we don't have no more issues with parts breaking off the frame, because as I said before, it looks like well built, except the welding isn't all that great on some spots. I don't think that the frame was actually welded up with a TIG. It was probably welded up with a MIG, and we all know what the issue is with a MIG. It develops a lot of heat, and then you get these weak zones just next to the weld where things break off. And that's exactly the area that broke off on this car once we had that incident or accident. And in May, I took my Koenig race car to the track in Croix and had a close encounter with another race car. The guy was trying to pass me on the left-hand side just before a right-hander. So he would try to pass me on the outside. And he probably didn't realize where his rear wheels were, because his rear wheel just hit my front wheel because he just cut me off like this. And it was too late. So the complete rim was destroyed, but also the steering was destroyed. As you can see, I haven't fixed it yet. And we also had a problem with the wishbones themselves because they are bent, and the support rod, which is lifting up the suspension. So all that still needs to be fixed. I haven't had the time. I was lucky. I have been able to get new rims. Well, these are second-hand rims from ATS. I think they look quite nice, to be honest. So those will be fitted on all 4 of the tires. And I couldn't find any replacement for my PLS rim. But if you know anybody that has a PLS rim or a lip for that rim, that would be great. But let me show you that rim and that lip, the damage on that one. And I've already tried to straighten that up, but that ain't working. It's just too much bent. And the only race car that hasn't let me down so far is my MGB GT. This one I ran up in March, I believe this year, in Mete, and it was just running fine. I mean, this car is really, really good. But I keep it aside a bit because I like to save it, because I'm really keen on British old sports cars, especially if they are conditioned and rebuilt for the racetrack. So this is the rim I was talking about. It's a French-made rim. It's called PLS. It's 3 parts. There's the lip part, and you have all these little bolts here, and you can undo those, and then this whole lip comes off. And there's a lip in the back as well, and then there's the centerpiece, which is the heavy metal. Now on this one, you can actually see that we have some black markings. That's the tires from the other car when it hit me. And the rim really was bent, as you can see. I already tried to straighten it up, but this is aluminum, doesn't work too well, so I really need a new lip. The problem is you can't get a new lip on these because they don't make them anymore. And this is a 13-inch, so if you know anybody that has something like this, let me know, because I will gladly buy it from them, so I have another spare set. And this is our MGA that we were supposed to take down to the classic 6 hours of Francorchamps this year, but so far it isn't ready. I'm still awaiting the custom-built fuel tank that will go right back in the bonnet there, but I don't have it yet. So this car is still awaiting some finishing touches. And it is a very nice British icon from the past. So hopefully I can get it on the racetrack very soon. And then we have Old Rusty, where we have already completed this year the frame. We shot blasted it, we have it then coated in epoxy, and then finally we painted it with a black metal paint. So this is now sitting on the lift, waiting for the front and rear axles to be finished. We cleaned and prepared a lot of parts for the rear axle. Same thing here, we have everything shot blasted, we then painted it, and then we took care of new seals. A lot of stuff was cleaned up and double checked, so this is now waiting to be installed. Most parts were painted, except some of them were actually powder coated. The rear springs were also shot blasted and then painted, and now I have a PTF layer on it, which is kind of a very smooth, kind of almost like silicone surface before we go in to put it together. So that's going to take a little bit of time as well. So very soon there will be a video on how we are assembling these springs. And they are prepared, so that shouldn't be too long before you will see that video. But like I said, everything takes a lot of time. And of course we worked on the farm and on the house, where we have been painting the window frames, and we've started painting the walls with this chalk-based paint, which is now becoming an issue, but I'll explain you that in a minute. And then we fixed the oven house. And then we got the garden to deal with. You know, we had to take care of the trees, we have to trim the hedges. There's always a lot of work to be done. So if you don't see a lot of progress on Old Rusty, well, it's because I'm doing a lot of things at the same time. We took care of the oven house where we cleaned it all up, we repainted the walls, we cleaned out the oven, we got the oven to work again, and in fact we created some nice pizza at the end just to prove that everything was working. And then at the end I painted the door. And there are a lot of walls to be painted on this farm, and that's going to bring me back to this kind of pink paint where now I have an issue with, because this is chalk based, but now I can't get this paint anymore. So the new paint that we are using is not really paint anymore. This is now what we call lime wash. And that's tough to apply, and you will see a video very soon on how I've done this. Let me maybe give you a little bit of a close-up how that looks like. And here it is. You can actually see the strokes that we did with the big brush and the little grit of sand that's on there. And that's so typical for lime wash. It's a mineral that you put onto the wall, very good, a lot of chalk and other products on it. And that creates a very nice coat. But I have to do the whole farm, so that's taking time. So yesterday I finished up this wall with lime wash, and it took me about 2 days to have it done. It takes about 75 kilograms of lime wash just on that wall, and you can see how high it is, because if you look at me, I'm a little short guy here compared to the top of this wall. But we still have to work on the window frames and so on, so you'll see more videos coming up on this. So this right here is the gatehouse, and you can see the state of the walls. Again, those need to be cleaned up. We have to install a scaffold or use my skylift, and then apply also the lime wash. So lucky me, I have an old skylift that I fixed many moons ago, and with that one I can actually paint the walls very easily. So you see more of this coming very soon. So folks, I hope that you can understand why I cannot deliver always a video in time as you would wish to have it, because I have to do many things. I have the race cars, I have old timers, I have Old Rusty, I have garden work, I have to restore the house, and I have to maintain the garden and all that stuff. So I'm trying to develop videos as much as I can while I go by, and some projects, they do take a long time. So my apologies for that. But thank you for viewing anyway, and I hope that you enjoyed this video and know a little bit where we are. And please comment, because I do like to see your comments. And I may not be able to respond to all of your comments all the time, because I get often a whole bunch of comments. But if you have something really urgent and important, then send me a mail, then I will answer. So thank you for viewing. Bye-bye.